Chuck, cold start. Alright, I need to grab my bootleg ramps that I made. Literally out of just some bed material. I just kind of just screwed them together. But you know, gets the job done. Lets me get the jack underneath the car. And the second one. It might be a little sketchy, but it's okay. If you guys haven't seen this thing yet, this is my dad's 58 Simca. It is a European car that was imported here, obviously from Europe, and it's got the smallest little four banger. It's a 1.6 liter, pushing a whole like 50-60 horsepower, but it's really cool. Got the tree column shifter, you know, it's not too bad inside. But yeah, this is his little project. He actually, I was talking with him the other day, so I'm going to be building this motor for the Genesis at some point. This is the motor that I spun a bearing in before I knew any better. But he actually wants to put the motor that's currently in the Genesis in here, and then once I get this one built, then I'll go ahead and swap that one in. But obviously we're going to have some clearance issues because this thing is literally the size of a lawnmower. We maybe can modify this guy, bring him up, or completely take him out, make some room for a radiator and an intercooler, because currently that's the stock radiator, and yeah, he's not going to cut it. And we can always just push the firewall back, maybe do some modifications to that. But he's talking about doing like a S2K chassis underneath it, but we're gonna have to find out some wheelbase stuff. This is gonna be a crazy project coming up, but I think for now he's just refreshing this motor. You know, the water pump is going out, you know, it gets hot, so he's redoing the water pump, he's redoing the generator, which this thing doesn't even have an alternator. It has a generator, which is right here, that the other day fell apart on him, so he's getting this rebuilt. It needs new little shoes. But yeah, this is my dad's. You're probably going to be seeing this on the channel more. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to this thing. So, quick tip if this is your first time changing your oil, it's always good to let your car warm up a little bit, you know, let the oil get warm so it's, you know, flows easier, and as well as remove your oil cap on top of the motor so air can go into the motor and push the old oil out. I also have a catch can installed. I'm also going to be emptying this out too. Don't think there's going to be much in it, but you know, it's always good to clean it out whenever you do your oil. What the fuck is this? Oh, that's no bueno. Where did you come from? I should get towels. That'd be smart. That'd be smart. Oh. So I already got the oil draining. I removed the plug and the filter. I personally like to change my oil filter at every oil change. Personal preference. Some people like to wait until the second or third one even, I've heard. But you know, I'm really preventative, especially after spinning this motor. Spun a bearing in that motor. So I just, you know, these things are a couple bucks at the dealership. Dude, don't cheap out. Just, you know, these cars last a long time if you treat them right. But yeah, let me do this real quick. So I'm actually a really big advocate for Amsoil. Their products are awesome. I've been using in this car, and my dad actually got some for his truck, who he was super unhappy with. He blew the motor in that thing. It was like 180,000 miles, and I think the head gasket blew or something, so he just went ahead and got a new motor. But he was using Royal Purple, I believe, before he got the, or when he got the swap. and he switched over to Amsoil just recently, and he says it feels miles different. The car is way more responsive and it feels way happier. So once you fill it up to the full line, I like to turn the car over, let it run for about 5 to 10 seconds, and then turn it back off, recheck the oil, make sure all the oil is circulated through the engine. Just like that. If you guys are wondering what my exhaust setup is, it's actually a Spec D exhaust from eBay, and all I have is that, and then I have ISR. You can actually see it. I have an ISR downpipe, L2 housing, and then obviously the test pipe. It does sound really good for me. I didn't want my car too loud. So if you guys want like a nice middle ground and actually relatively cheap exhaust setup, then I do recommend that. But I'm gonna go ahead and add more oil here. It did go down. For those of you wondering the importance of a catch can, I just took mine out right now, and I don't know how well you guys can see that, but that is a good bit of oil that's sitting in there. And if the if the catch can doesn't catch that, then that's going right back into your intake manifold, and it's gonna jack your car up. So I do really recommend that you get a good one. No, just get a oilless catch can, because this thing will save your motor's life, especially if you run your car hard. Like I like to beat the shit out of my car personally. Not even going to front, I really do be mashing on this thing all the time. So if you do that, also I'd most definitely get an oil catch can, because this thing will catch all the oil. One will do the job. So if you get one, obviously I have it on the intake manifold side. Get the one, it will protect your motor really well. But if you really want to be preventative, or you want to get the most life out of your motor possible, then you want to go ahead and get one that connects from here, and I believe, yeah, it just tees off into your intake. So it keeps all the oil from going into your intake, which ultimately will go into your turbo. So that's also really good for protecting your turbo. I'm gonna do that one next. I just haven't got around to it, but for sure guys, get at least one, if not two. You can get, I mean, you can even make these things. It's really, you just use fuel lines, and then you just need a fucking something to put it in. I got this one, it's a Mishimoto catch can. I got this one from Car Tuners. They're pretty local to me. And this thing was, I believe, about $110, which honestly isn't that expensive considering how much it helps your motor out. Without rambling, for sure guys, like, get an oil catch can. Do yourself the favor. I didn't have one when I blew my first motor, and I really wish I did. Part of me feels like my motor would have lasted a little longer if I did it, but you know, it's been a bearing, so it's kind of hard. You never know. But yeah, for sure guys, get an oil catch can. Whether it's from Car Tuners, they sell some really cool ones, but also I've heard that you should for sure get a baffled one. Baffled ones definitely help out more with keeping the oil from once it gets caught by the catch can, it doesn't come back out of the catch can, and then ultimately end up back in your system. So yeah, for sure guys, get a catch can, do yourself the favor. All together, this setup was probably 130 bucks. This thing was about 110. I used the fitting that came with it. It comes with two fittings, but I used this fitting, the left side of the catch can. This fitting, I got a brass fitting, and then obviously, you know, a couple hose clamps, but I had those laying around the garage. And yeah, just do that guys, just do that. So yeah, that's about it. For all of you wondering, I am using 5W30 Amsoil signature blend. If you guys do try to go get it at like AutoZone, stuff like that, they don't have it. You have to get it online on Amsoil's website, or if you're close to a dealer, that works too. There's a couple throughout the United States, but I'm super happy with the oil. It runs a lot better than Amsoil, or I'm sorry, than Rotella, because I know in the community a lot of people do advocate for Rotella, which may have been true a couple years ago, but recently I believe they changed the recipe of the oil. They use different detergents and they're a lot cheaper quality now, so I was running into a lot of issues using that oil before, which is what I was using before I switched to Amsoil. But yeah, it's definitely not as good as it used to be. I know a lot of people don't know that and they still advocate for it, but just try out Amsoil, guys, for sure. It's really good. I'm happy with the results. And yeah, I'm picking this YouTube thing back up for 2020. Hopefully I can you know, put out more content for you guys and not remember to not forget that I'm recording. A lot of times I just kind of space out and I'm like, don't know what to say, but definitely it's new, and I'll get better as it goes along. But yeah, for sure, guys, that's it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.